Afternoon, Jared.
Hey mate, how you going?
Good, man.
That's good.
This is part 2 of the X9000 review. So installing the controller, Jared, didn't go quite as nicely as we would have wanted.
Probably not. So basically, like my thing is, like as we talked about earlier, is it's not just made for this bike, and you can tell it's a bit of a retrofit in design. The cable lengths were probably a little bit too long in some areas, and it wasn't as neat to install in general. But apart from that, it's kind of very similar to like a BAC 8000 install, where you do have the extra cabling, etc., to kind of make everything work. But yeah, not as neat as some other options out there. The other thing we had, I suppose, looks-wise, more about fitment, is that the actual hardware that actually fitted onto this controller was actually the original stock Suron hardware was actually the wrong size to fit this controller. So we did have to purchase slightly shorter bolts and slightly longer ones to make it fit correctly. You also struggled, Jared, with this little bottom plastic bit here, mate. That didn't quite line up the way it should have. Yeah, so the bottom original Suron controller plastic didn't line up with the controller. It had the mounting holes drilled, but they didn't actually fit directly. The other thing I had to do as well is shave that section off to fit this Luna bash guard. I mean, this Luna bash guard is shaved in multiple places to make the motor fit as well, but I had to shave that to make this work. So that's another thing to mention. It's not quite a true fit. It's definitely a fit, and I don't think anyone would really care that much, but just something to note out. Yeah, and hopefully EBMX can resolve this in the finished products. What do you reckon, Stuart, about basically the SW102 display? What do you think about that, instead of having something like bulky on the front like we had with the ASI controllers back in the day? Yeah, man, I'll be honest, I don't really like anything on my bars other than brakes, grips and throttle. So yeah, it's definitely an upgrade over the big bulky display we used to run for the BACs. But yeah, I mean, it's that small, it's really not going to bother me too much, but I could also hide it somewhere else as well. It's not going to... Yeah, that's kind of my thing. I think it's really cool to have like a small display. Like, it'll give you basically your controller temperature readout, your motor temperature readout, your speed, it'll give you a trip, etc. It's kind of like all you really need to go through it. It's also basically almost like a gear shifter for how they set up this controller. So you'll enter the reverse menu through this. You also go through your other modes that you have set up on the app as well. So that's also what it's used for. But yeah, essentially it works at the moment. How it works, you will turn the bike on and then you'll turn on the display. In the final version, turning on the key and the display will turn on straight away without you physically having to push the on button. Yeah, that's a big deal for me. Turning that key on and off, just being able to go. Yeah, that's a big deal. So riding feel, something that I wanted to, like, you'll see this in other reviews, but essentially me and Stuart both agree this is the most communicative throttle feel we've ever felt on a controller. It just gives you some kind of confidence and some kind of connection with your bike that I haven't had with any electric motor control before. I think VESC and how the MPTA works with the IPM motor, I think it just works really, really well, and it gives you just a feeling that I can't really describe. And if you're a stunt rider, I would definitely recommend looking at trying one of these controllers, just for the fact that you get this throttle control that will aid wheelies and stunts just like nothing I've actually tried before. What's your opinion of the throttle, Stuart? Oh man, I was in my cast, jumped on this before I got my cast off, and put it straight back on the back wheel and had full confidence. It definitely it feels real nice. It's like a light switch, the way it just flicks on and off, but it's a smooth light switch. So it's smooth, but when you want the power, you have it. When you don't want it, it lets go, and it's just on off, on off, on off, and it's just beautiful for things like wheel stands. Yeah, it's really difficult to explain, but essentially just whatever you want that throttle to do, it's just doing. I'm unsure how EBMX have got this mapped, but it just feels incredible. And like Troy said, how many months had it been since you'd ridden a bike? Oh man, it had been 6 weeks, and I just jumped on this and just felt right at home, and straight away I was like, wow, this feels really nice. Yeah, the mind to throttle connection, can't really explain it, but they've definitely knocked that one out of the park. Another negative, Jared, was that we had a bit of motor hiss and a bit of issues at the start tuning the KO controller.
Yeah, so we still have a little bit of motor hiss, and basically this is kind of a prototype version and a prototype tune. The tune itself feels great, but there is a small hiss that basically happens at the start when you first let off. It appears to be only on my bike, so it could be something wrong with my motor, but just something to mention that, you know, like in reviews, not everything goes perfect, and we just want to state that kind of, you know, there is a bit of a motor hiss just at the very low RPM, but prototype once again, so hopefully that gets fixed in the final release version. As far as power delivery, this thing pulls really well. So currently the input settings are 800 phase and 25 kilowatt. With VESC, you can basically see what you're actually pulling. So I can kind of pull with a 58 tooth sprocket and these wheels uphill, 800 phase for like a couple of seconds, and then it will quickly taper off. But as far as the tune and the mapping that EBMX has made for this, with that throttle control, it feels excellent. It's some of the best I've felt. Very similar to kind of tunes I've written previously in the past, but probably just with like maybe like 10% extra polish to what I've had previously. So Troy, what did you reckon about power delivery?
Yeah, no, it's pretty mint. Yeah, I've got no complaints in that. It definitely holds. So tuning, Jared, how has the VESC software been treating you?
Yeah, it's really cool. Basically it's set up two ways. You either have the EBMX app, which will log on with your phone. It's got the different motors that are already pre-tuned. You'd select them, and then basically you just set how much power you want to go for, what battery you're running, whether it's bypassed or etc., or it's a custom battery. Basically you can use that, or what you can use is you jump on the VESC software. It's a written one for EBMX, so you can't obviously play with too many features, but it does allow you to tune like other motors that haven't been tuned previously. But as far as tuning, it's been fairly simple. A little bit of a learning curve, but it's as easy as you want to make it for the people who don't want to know how to tune, and for the people who do want to dive in and they want something a bit more technical, which is definitely what I enjoy. Yeah, you've got that option as well.
So we got a feature we didn't have before, Jared. We've got reverse.
Yeah, so reverse. I don't have any idea where to use it. Maybe you can stick your helmet on backwards and go backwards. But I mean, look, it's probably a handy thing to have. Maybe you're right on the street and you have a tight spot that you park your bike and you're doing to reverse it out. In the app, you can change all the strengths. So it's really weak at the moment, but yeah, it does obviously allow you to go backwards.
That's kind of cool, Jared. Something on a dirt bike that I don't think any normal dirt bike rider's ever had.
Yeah, that's it. So another thing that we haven't talked about yet was the regen throttle. Regen throttle is not something I've tried before, or something I thought that I'd really be into, but it's really nice to have this, just the fact that you can save pads. What do you reckon about the throttle, Troy?
Yeah, like the fact that you can save brake pads is just awesome. Like, yeah, especially being, you know, mountain bike brakes, and we're putting massive tires on them and massive power, you rip through brake pads like it's Christmas.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's actually a really cool feature, and I didn't realize how much I was actually going to like it. It's really cool.
The other thing to mention too is you can still have your regen as a brake and still have throttle off regen. So as you let off the throttle when the bike kind of coasts, you can have that regen on as well as still having your regen throttle as a brake at the same time.
Both at the same time.
Yeah. So Troy, considering this is a prototype controller, what's your conclusion?
Yeah, man. Yeah, the fact that it's fully potted.
And we threw a sink at it.
We did throw a sink at it.
And it took it like Christmas.
And it did take it like Christmas.
Yeah.
The fact that it's fully potted, if you're someone that puts your controller through hell, that's definitely something you're going to want just for robustness of the product, I guess.
Yeah, and I think also just like we'll come back to that throttle again. It's throttle that I haven't felt on a controller, and sure it hasn't before either. It just has like a level of precision that we haven't felt before. So I can't really speak highly enough about the throttle. Probably like one of the advantages that we kind of haven't really touched on is that there's a thing called MPTA, which is built into the VESC software. So that really kind of comes into place with basically IPM motors, so things like this KO motor. So kind of if you do, it's basically a mathematical calculation that tries to use the saliency effect of that motor. That's a lot of big wording, but basically, if you do the calculation, it kind of means you normally get about 73% more power with MPTA on compared to off. It doesn't really correlate to that in a real world situation, but you do notice the extra power, and a lot of this extra response and these feelings we're getting are kind of related to this MPTA. I think that pretty much concludes like our review of this EBMX X9000 controller. I think if you're a stunt rider, I would definitely look at this just for the throttle control. Most guys who ride trails, etc., I still think it's a great controller for that. I think it's an excellent controller for pretty much for everything. So definitely worth considering.
Yeah, for sure.
So thanks very much for watching Progressive E.
We'll see you in the next one.
Potato.
Potato.
So people think that we're Irish, but actually we're Australian. So we're going to say potato on the end of videos till you guys realise we're actually Australian.
Potato.
Potato.
Potato. Is this like the potato, tomato, tomato type situation?
It is. Yeah, definitely
right.
is. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I get it now.
Right, like a rotary. Potato, 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 potato.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Exactly like that.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yep. That's what I'm feeling.
That's what you're feeling.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, right. A little potato chip situation.
Full potato chip.
Yeah,
Yep. All
gotcha.
potato chip.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Salty potato chip.
Salty.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I like my potato chips. Salty. Yeah.
Good potatoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.